Breaking. King Charles just exposed Labour's radical agenda during a live BBC interview. Starmer's government is in complete meltdown. Palace sources reveal the King directly challenged Starmer's migration policies at 9:37 a.m. this morning. Over 300,000 Britons watched in disbelief. And what happened next has Westminster insiders predicting the collapse of Labour's entire government within 72 hours. If you want to understand how this constitutional earthquake will reshape Britain forever, hit that subscribe button right now, because events are moving faster than we can report them. Here's what sparked this unprecedented royal intervention. 3 days ago, leaked documents revealed Starmer's cabinet approved a radical immigration plan without parliamentary approval. The confidential memo outlined a scheme to fast-track 200,000 asylum seekers from 17 countries directly into British housing. The directive was explicit and shocking. Bypass standard security protocols to expedite processing. But King Charles wasn't staying silent this time. The monarch chose the annual Commonwealth address to make his position crystal clear. His exact words were chilling for Labour's leadership. Britain's traditions and values are not political bargaining chips, the King stated firmly. The security and stability of our nation must remain paramount regardless of political pressures. Starmer, who was seated just 6 feet away, visibly paled as Charles continued. Those entrusted with our nation's care must honour the sacred covenant with its people. Within hours, the hammer fell. Emergency cabinet meetings were called at 2:15 p.m. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper was seen leaving Downing Street in tears. According to Palace insiders, Charles had already raised these concerns privately 3 times since February. Each time he was ignored. BBC political editor Chris Mason described the scene as a public dismantling of government policy by the monarch that hasn't been seen in modern British history. And here's where it gets even more explosive. Our sources inside the palace reveal that Charles had prepared a dossier, not just notes or talking points, but a comprehensive 47-page document detailing every security breach, every protocol violation, and every misleading statement made by Starmer's government since taking office. The King didn't just speak off the cuff, he systematically dismantled Labour's entire immigration strategy point by point, with facts and figures that Starmer couldn't refute. When Charles mentioned the specific number, 74,632 cases where basic security checks were waived, Starmer visibly flinched. That number had never been made public before. The King had access to intelligence that even Parliament hadn't seen. But the most damaging moment came when Charles revealed that the government's own impact assessment predicted housing shortages would increase by 62% in British working-class communities if the plan proceeded. Meanwhile, British veterans who fought for this country's freedom are struggling to find housing and basic health care. James Whittaker, a 72-year-old former Royal Marine who served in Northern Ireland, was denied his pension increase for the 3rd straight year. His heating was cut off last December. "I can't afford both food and medicine," he told reporters outside his small flat in Basildon. "Sometimes I have to choose between eating and staying warm." While Labour ministers enjoy taxpayer-funded chauffeurs and £300 dinners at the Ivy, we're talking about £4,000 designer suits and first-class flights to climate conferences. The contrast is so stark, so obscene, that even lifelong Labour voters are abandoning the party in droves. Just last Tuesday, in Manchester's traditional Labour heartland, 4-year-old Margaret Davies tore up her Labour membership card on the steps of the town hall, a card she'd carried since 1956. "My father would be turning in his grave," she said, her hands shaking with emotion. Labour was for the working people, now they're for everyone but us. Her video went viral, reaching 2.3 million views in less than 24 hours. And she's not alone. Over 17,000 Labour members have resigned their membership in just the past week. Local party offices report phones ringing constantly with cancellations. But then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. King Charles broke 7 decades of royal protocol by summoning the Privy Council to Buckingham Palace at 7:30 p.m. yesterday. At the emergency meeting, he delivered what insiders describe as the most forceful royal statement on government conduct since the abdication crisis. The Crown cannot and will not remain silent when the very fabric of our society is being undermined. Charles declared with visible emotion. There are lines that must never be crossed. Palace sources reveal Charles presented evidence that Labour's migration policy violated 3 separate national security protocols established after the Manchester bombing. The King specifically cited Section 18 of the royal prerogative, which hadn't been invoked since 1974. Royal insiders confirmed Charles had consulted with former prime ministers and Supreme Court justices before taking this extraordinary step. The optics are devastating for Starmer, who campaigned on transparency and working-class values. Former MI6 director Sir Richard Dearlove broke his customary silence to support the King's position. The security concerns raised by His Majesty are not theoretical. Dearlove stated on Radio 4's Today programme at 8:15 this morning, they represent real and present dangers to British citizens. When pressed by the interviewer, Dearlove went further. In my 38 years of service, I have never seen a government so willing to compromise security standards for political convenience. Coming from Britain's former intelligence chief, those words landed like a bomb in Westminster. But wait, because there's another layer to this story that makes it even worse for Labour. The economic impact was immediate and brutal. The pound dropped 4% against the dollar in just 3 hours. The FTSE 100 plunged 287 points, wiping £27 billion from British pensions. International investors pulled £1.2 billion from UK government bonds by 10 a.m. this morning. The Labour Party is fracturing along factional lines. 17 MPs have already called for an emergency leadership review. President Biden phoned Charles directly, bypassing Downing Street completely, a diplomatic slap in the face that speaks volumes. Social media exploded, with over 780,000 tweets using number Charles stands for Britain. In just 4 hours, it became the top trending hashtag worldwide. YouGov polls show Labour's approval rating has collapsed from 41% to just 26% overnight, the sharpest single-day drop ever recorded in British political history. Protesters have gathered outside Parliament, with police estimating crowds of 75,000 by 2 p.m. today. Union Jack flags wave everywhere. What's truly remarkable is how quickly ordinary Britons mobilised. In Swindon, a convoy of 137 taxis, each flying a Union Jack, drove through the town centre in support of the King. In Glasgow, shopkeepers closed early and hung portraits of Charles in their windows. Even BBC presenter Hugh Edwards, normally the model of impartiality, couldn't hide his shock during the 6 p.m. news bulletin. What we're witnessing, he said gravely, may be the most significant constitutional moment of the 21st century. Inside Number 10, absolute chaos has erupted behind closed doors. Ministers are shouting at each other so loudly that staff on the floor below reported hearing furniture being thrown. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner allegedly threatened to resign on the spot during a heated exchange at 11:23 a.m. Starmer was overheard saying, "I don't care what he thinks, he's just a figurehead in a fancy hat." WhatsApp groups with names like Labour Survival and Post-Care Planning are buzzing with talks of leadership challenges. The question isn't if they'll move against Starmer, it's when. Chancellor Rachel Reeves looked ashen as she left the emergency meeting. Sources say she hadn't slept in 36 hours. Our exclusive sources reveal that at 3:42 p.m, Reeves told her special advisor, "We can't survive this, the numbers don't lie. We're finished unless we act." Labour Chief Whip Alan Campbell has reportedly been making calls to backbenchers since dawn, taking the temperature for a potential leadership challenge. The magic number is 43. That's how many MPs need to submit letters to trigger a vote. Campbell had collected 29 letters by lunchtime. Shadow cabinet members are already positioning themselves. Wes Streeting cancelled 3 public appearances today, citing urgent constituency matters. But he was spotted entering the London home of Labour's biggest donor, Lord Ali, at 2:15 p.m. Here's the shocking part that could destroy Labour's grip on power completely. Leaked Cabinet Office documents show Starmer was fully briefed on the national security risks of his migration policy 6 months ago. If these documents are real, and if they show what our sources claim, then Starmer knowingly misled Parliament and the King about critical security matters. Think about what that means. A sitting Prime Minister deliberately deceived the monarch and put British families at risk for political gain. The optics of that would be absolutely devastating. A Whitehall whistleblower who worked directly on the policy has come forward, requesting anonymity due to genuine fear of repercussions. According to this senior civil servant, warnings about security implications were deliberately removed from the final report presented to Parliament. We were instructed to delete paragraphs 17 through 24, which contained all the risk assessments, the whistleblower told us. When I raised concerns, I was moved to another department within 48 hours. Meanwhile, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage is masterfully seizing this moment of national crisis. While Starmer struggles to contain cabinet rebellions, Farage appeared at a veterans rally in Birmingham with 12,000 supporters. When Labour betrays Britain and Conservatives fail to oppose them, someone must stand for the people, Farage declared to thunderous applause. The polls tell the story. Reform UK has surged to 27% almost overnight, with Conservatives at 31% and Labour collapsing to 26%. For the first time in modern British politics, a third party isn't just gaining ground, they're positioned to potentially form a government. Farage isn't just a protest vote anymore, he's a genuine contender for number 10. The reform surge is unprecedented. Membership applications have increased by 847% in 24 hours. Their website crashed 3 times due to traffic overload. But what's truly remarkable is who's joining. Not just traditional right-wing voters, but lifelong Labour supporters from working-class communities across the Midlands and North. Former Labour MP Gloria De Piero, who represented Ashfield for years, publicly endorsed reform this morning. The Labour Party I joined no longer exists, she said on GB News. They've abandoned the very people they were created to represent. The next 72 hours are critical for Britain's future. Constitutional experts warn of a potential government collapse, a no-confidence vote, and possibly an emergency general election. The question is no longer whether Starmer misjudged the situation. It's whether the Labour Party itself can survive this catastrophic miscalculation. Britain is watching its political landscape transform in real time. This crisis will be studied for decades as the moment when royal authority reasserted itself against government overreach. At its epicentre stands Keir Starmer, who looks increasingly isolated, desperate and politically doomed. Lord Hennessy, Britain's preeminent constitutional historian, appeared visibly shaken during his interview on Channel 4 News. "We are witnessing history," he said quietly. "Not since the glorious revolution of 1688 has the relationship between Crown and government been so fundamentally challenged. The stakes couldn't be higher." This isn't just about immigration policy or party politics, it's about who truly speaks for Britain. Is it an elected government that seems increasingly detached from its voters? Or is it a monarchy that, despite everything, still embodies the nation's deepest values and traditions? So here's the question that matters. Did King Charles save Britain or tear it apart? Did Starmer just commit the most spectacular political suicide in British history? Or did he accidentally create the perfect conditions for Britain's first Reform UK government? What do you think? Was King Charles right to challenge the government, or should he have remained silent? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening in Westminster right now. The mainstream media won't tell you the full truth, but we will. And tomorrow we'll reveal the explosive details of what Labour promised Brussels in exchange for supporting this migration scheme. The Prime Minister just said something so shocking about King Charles that his own cabinet is plotting to remove him. And what happened next could end 300 years of British stability forever.